Hi, this is Privateer Station, and today we're bringing you the diary of 201st day of the war in Ukraine, done in the form of conversation between Olexiy Arestovych, advisor to the office of the President of Ukraine, and Mark Feygin, Russian opposition journalist. Enjoy. Dear friends, glad to see you all on Feigin Live. It is Monday, 12th of September, 1 minute past 10 Kiev, and we're doing another stream in Kiev, day 201 with Olexiy Arestovich. Glad to see you, Olexiy. Yeah, good evening. I see you're back, happy. Oh, Mark, if you knew how I was greeted and received in Lithuania, this is paradise. I need to go there again. Alright, we have 130,000 people watching us live. Over 28,000 of them clicked the like button. My usual ask, please share the links to our stream in your social media, in other groups, share it among your friends, and subscribe to Feigin Live and Olexiy Arestovich, and to the Privateer Station if you are watching that in English. Alright, let's continue discussing where we have left. We had a break yesterday, so we should have probably quite a few news. And let's bring up the map and just follow it. We do want to look at the main events, right? To focus on those areas. Yeah, we'll start with the areas of main events and then we'll go from there. Vice Minister of Defense of Ukraine, Anna Maler, who is to be believed more than me, although nobody should be believed more than me. Oh yeah, we know that. Informed us that Ukraine military grabbed over 6,000 square miles. That's roughly, if you do a square root of that, 77 by 77, or 80 by 80 kilometers. And she's being modest because we are announcing only the areas that we have checked, where we have done some stabilization work and Ukraine power is back. So let's look at the heroic city of Izum. What did the enemy do here? Do we see that? Let's study some tactics here and military art. You see there is a bit of water going from the water reservoir up north, and there is a small town of Oskol. It's right in the smack middle of the map now, slightly towards 12, and the enemy managed to hold along the natural barrier. And by the way, natural barriers and suburbs of cities, villages, towns are good areas for holding defense. So they fortified there and they're holding it there. Well, let's go up north. Kupiansk Uzlovoy. Let's see where that is. Oh, here. Here, Ukraine military. We will not give more details, but let's be delicate and say the enemy failed to fortify along the natural barriers here. But over down at the bottom, you can see that they still managed to hold down by a reservoir. Here they also failed near Borovaya, so they were pushed further out. But further down, they're still holding by the river. So that's what's up. Although some Russian publics and chats are posting scary things near Liman, that this area is barely holding. And also if you take a look on the left where the road to Izum goes, so there is a road going in the middle of this map, and Liman is towards 930 of that, still in the red territory. Yeah, so there is a road there, and I actually am looking at the picture of Ukrainian soldier in front of one of the settlements along that road. we're not commenting that from the Ukrainian side, but if you read the posts of Russian separatists, Svetogorsk is actually facing some big issues. So those heroes that are still holding near Oskol along the river see the Svetogorsk intrusion, that blue tentacle coming towards the red at the bottom of this map. So those people who are holding by Oskol, the Russian side by the river, they're getting into an interesting position. They actually have quite some issues if the tentacle continues to extend. And also Liman, the other town, is in probably precarious position because there are some evil posts in Russian public saying that Ukrainians also crossed some of the river barriers and started advancing north to the east of Liman. So we cannot say if Liman will fall, but if it will, then the road to Orubezhne and then Lysychansk, Severodonetsk might be open. So horrible things are happening. All right, let's go more to the east, towards Lysychansk and Severodonetsk area. Separatists and Russian military are complaining about horrible situation near Sporne, not too far from Siversk. That's where the arrow is pointing. They shouldn't have drawn an arrow here, but or it should be showing the other way. But remember where they were fighting for Belogorovka, and they were coming in, getting kicked. And Russian correspondents and bloggers are saying that their position is very difficult. And just a few days ago, weeks ago, they were taking Belogorovka, and they were screaming that they're successful and they're taking it back. And that precarious movement towards Liman up north that Ukraine is doing can create a rather difficult situation for Lysychansk and Severodonetsk. Not sure if that will in fact happen, but if it does, then there definitely will be an issue for Severodonetsk and Lysychansk, which are on 2 o'clock on this map right now. Okay, let's go down south. Near Marina, some heroic people are holding their defense and even attempting to push back a little. One can say, okay, well, very stubborn people who are wasting their infantry in absolute useless attacks. And that motion does cost them a lot. And eventually they'll run out of resources to use. And every time, actually, these attempts are shorter, smaller, smoke is weaker, pipe is lower, as the saying goes. And eventually there'll be some retribution coming to that area. I'm not going to say when, but it will. Now let's look down south from Marinka towards Ugledar. There is actually a red arrow towards Ugledar. You can see near the green piece at the 6 o'clock of this map. Evil tongues are saying that this arrow should be pointing another direction. And we don't know, maybe they are fighting with each other there, but there is a controversial information coming from that area saying that there's maybe an offensive near Zaporozhye. So yeah, let's stick to Ugledar still, because Ugledar is pretty far away from Zaporozhye. That's a different group. So yeah, I've seen posts that they're afraid that they'll be attacked down from Ugledar and from more to the left in Zaporozhye near the power plant. Well, it's good that they're afraid of us everywhere, but we know that we do have a tactic of 100 cuts and 1,000 cuts and 100 breakthroughs. I'm not sure where we'll break through, but these heroes are sincerely afraid of the break of their front line between Vuhledar and Melitopol, and actually added another 6 battle groups. You see that line, Zaporozhye, Melitopol, Kinichevsk. See those 2 green tents in Takmak and Melitopol down south at 6, 7. So the thing is, they're afraid of us, but with the amount of troops they gathered there, one needs a lot of troops to counterattack. So we'll see. Maybe we do have that resource, maybe not. The events will show. Let's go to Kherson finally. There to the left, to 8 o'clock, there is a settlement called Alexandrovka, which is still shown under enemy in the red territory. But our central command already acknowledged that we own that settlement, and behind that there is Stanislav, Tomnaya Balka, Belozerka, and then you can creep up to Kherson. If you look north, there is a straight road going from Kherson towards north, towards the center of the map. You can see the last settlement they have is Snegurovka, and there is a dangerous green protrusion approaching it. So they're also commenting that they have a lot of trouble in that area. But the worst thing is happening a bit north, to the south of Davidov Brod, to the right. We are discussing the data of Russian media. We're not giving up what is happening on the Ukrainian side, we're just discussing what they're saying. And the Russian side is screaming that there is a lot of problem. You can see the arrow pointing away from the front. So, yeah, they indeed are retreating. If you look at that area, kind of if you zoom out, the southern map, the southern area of this map by the road is melting away. It used to be much higher toward Nikolaev, and now it's much, much closer towards Kherson. You can see the dotted line, that's the border of Nikolaev region with Kherson region. So what can we say is that the operation continues also in the north, near Kharkov. We kicked most of them from Kharkov region as well. So what's the nuance? It will not be as easy as at the beginning. They finally took some defensive position, and it starts to resemble the positional fight in Kherson. But we're still getting through. We're still breaking through the current defense lines. And I think there are more good news awaiting us from that area. But they are definitely in store for more bad news in the near future. I remember last time our listeners enjoyed the audio intercept, so here's another one. Let's share that. Here, Russian troops are accusing the soldiers from so-called LNR in running away, leaving the battlefield. So as we're moving forward, we see the whole column of artillery, tanks. We passed Kupiansk. There's a whole gang outside. Maybe 20 tanks. And they're showing us gestures. You fucktards, where are you going to? We are mad. These guys are afraid of Ukrainians. We jumped back a little. And for a day, it was just us and some of the Russian guard, some of the Russian police. These asses, I don't know who they are, LNR, pathetic. They put their cars on tow trucks. They left everything, they left even tanks, and they ran faster than they could scream. They even did not try to defend their positions. There was a general begging them, to stay and help. Help us keep Kupiansk. No, they said F you, and just fled. We were barely holding the position. We had, what, maybe 100 of us and a little bit of Russian guard. And these with tanks and everything, they just dropped part of equipment and ran. And they were just running towards Russia. Kiev, if you know anyone from LNR, tell them they're asses, they're scum of the earth. They couldn't even defend Kupiansk. Alright, impressive, right? This is not the most funny part about that. The funny part about that, and we can understand the degree of their discombobulation, that there were no LNR and DNR there. What they're describing is 11 Corps from Kaliningrad. So Russian military are in such a confused condition that they don't realize they're passing by another Russian detachment and they're taking them for LNR. And the fun part also that after these posts and these screams about LNR people screamed back and said, we'll find you and cut your dicks off unless you apologize. And these guys deleted the audio, and that was posted in their publics, and they deleted the audio. They started explaining that this was a misunderstanding, but it's rather funny to observe. I hope they actually may have a little incident, fighting incident between each other, because LNR in general are fighting pretty well. If you're not talking about Mobiks, the mobilized crowd, if you're talking about their cadre that was resisting us for these several years before this war broke out, they were fighting rather aggressively. But you can imagine if one Russian detachment takes another Russian detachment for LNR people, that's a big mess. So if they do find that person eventually and, do whatever they promise to do with him, perhaps others will be smarter. But in any case, we also had another interesting intel that in the south there is fighting going on between Kadyrov people and Russian military, because one of them are trying to be blocking force behind the front lines of the others and to stop them from retreating. So one can imagine the amount of aggression and anger circulating there. But in general, yeah, for now our offensive paused a little. They're sort of holding by the natural barriers. We also have other plans, so we'll find ways around them. We continue to take out their ammo dumps, their warehouses. Yesterday we did not talk, so as usual there were more interesting things happening. So in Kherson we hit an operation base of Russian Airborne Command. There were a lot of screams and intercepts there, so I suspect it could have been the top of their command in that area, and that actually is some of the best of that group down south. So they kind of gotten much sadder after that. Let's go back to our previous conversation. I was getting some flack after I suggested an idea of sabotage, and some people are even considered me to be part of a pro-Putin group. Some conspiracy theories. Oh yeah, that's our typical opposition here. They love conspiracy stuff. For example, let's take a look today. The General Command of Ukraine military announced that Russia pauses sending new, already formed military detachments because there is lack of trust to the higher command. A lot of people who signed contracts are refusing to go and actually fight because of the recent developments on the front. So the way I read that, they're trying to gather some groups rapidly in Russia and send them as fast as they can to the front. But perhaps those groups that are being formed this way to plug the holes, they actually refuse or lack enthusiasm to go to the front. How much can we judge the actual crumbling of command near Kharkov group up north? Because it looks like nobody wants to take responsibility, understanding that it's a loss anyway. And somebody still needs to take responsibility, and we heard that somebody was removed. The head of their eastern group, Bernik, I think, yeah, I saw some news about him being removed, yet to be confirmed. And there was another guy who was in charge for, I think, 15 days. And he also, I think, is getting removed. So that for us, Eastern, for them, it's Western group, and that is supposed to be a battle-worthy group. That is to meet NATO if there is a big conflict ever. But yeah, they're somewhat pathetic. Now they put Lapin in charge. He supposedly is a big protege of Putin. But all that stuff that we're discussing now is a complex reflection of what's going on there. The lack of connection on the lower level, mess on the higher level, the search for a guilty part, collapse of the front. Yep. So I also want to address those who are yelling at Russian liberal opposition. I want to say that Mark is not really a liberal opposition. He is more radical opposition, if anything. Oh, that's for sure. I'm definitely, in my personal views, I don't think I'm exactly liberal. So you're more to the right, in a way, and again, talking about Putin's regime, I'm definitely pro using some violence to get rid of them. You know, some people here posting funny things. Arestovich is talking to liberal opposition, for example, with Feygin. Imagine, Mark, you are a liberal opposition. Oh, yeah, no, it's funny. In Russia, they also put everybody into liberal opposition camp because it's easier for them. It's just nuance. So anyway, they responded to your offensive and they hit the power plant at night. And I'm quite sure they actually probably confirmed that with Putin. I don't think he looked at the exact power plant to be destroyed, but in general that he affirmed that let's give him something scary in return and destroy and cut their power off. So they left Kharkov without power for a few hours, and that's the outcome of their Security Council they had. By the way, I also have to notice that Putin refused to meet, well, at least they changed the date for meeting the top brass of Russian military-industrial complex. So one can read through that as he's really pissed at their produce, and you'd think that you do need to meet with them and make sure you have certain resources, but he even postponed that. So the thing is, that's a usual somewhat development. When Putin's army cannot win on the battlefront, they start hitting civil targets. They hit civilian targets in Kherson, they destroyed a power plant. But we managed to reroute the energy, and in some parts the energy was back in a couple hours. The other parts of town got it back by morning. And one of our ministers, Shmyhal, ordered to create a special command that will be in charge of fortifying our civilian targets, energy system. And one needs to understand that the country that has nuclear power plants, it's very difficult to leave us completely without power. So our system is very robust, and again, dear citizens, do not panic. There are other ways to supply electricity to your networks, and we are using them. And as for the Russian side, that just shows their reality. They have no options left. First, they cannot send new troops here, new detachments, because most people refuse to come. And the three main reasons that we noticed being used for refusal: disbelief in command, disbelief in the front, in the logistics, and disbelief in, or lack of understanding what the heck they're even going to do in Ukraine and what are we doing in Ukraine. So there actually were in the news today that some towns on the Russian side were hit, Taganrog and others, and some elements were destroyed. We don't know, of course, who did that, but it does need to be highlighted. You idiots are trying to hurt Ukraine by destroying power plants. But right now, I'm just, I don't represent Ukraine military, but I'm observing it from the sidelines. Nobody will pause to destroy a similar power plant in Belgrade region or somewhere else along the border. Why are you putting yourself in that position? They're idiots, Mark, and the only way for these idiots to learn is by slapping their butt. As one of the Russian classics said, not by the power of the brain, but by the experience of the hurt butt they know. So we'll be glad to provide that service, and continuation of such acts from Russia is likely to continue yet, so they'll still probably target our civil targets, but it will lead only to more response from NATO and our Western allies, because they actually do react very actively to situations like that, and they give us additional armaments to protect our skies, anti-air defense, anti-missile defense, and also to provide us the retribution weapon that can balance these situations, that can pay back. And I would highlight again the retribution weapon that will reach them back in response to these actions. So I would encourage them, we for sure will find a different way to compensate for their attacks. For every weird bolt, there'll for sure be, now I should switch to stay away from the expletives, but yeah, we'll find a solution to every problem. So Rammstein, it was rather a success, right? Yeah, Rammstein was a good one. And how should I post it delicately? Everything that was accepted in Rammstein, people are trying to expedite now because the West reacted very emotionally to them attacking civilian targets. And I want to say again that on the West, the public is rather sentimental. They don't appreciate when the official army is targeting civilian targets. So what they can do, they can give additional armaments, provide energy saving and storing technologies, and perhaps provide other tools to preclude Russia from hitting civil targets in Ukraine. And let's put a pause here. All right, another news. Russian teachers who were teaching according to the Russian program were imprisoned in Kharkov by Ukraine police, and they're now facing 15 years in prison for breaking the law of military times and collaborating with occupants. And these teachers, many of them are Ukraine citizens, out of the ones detained, and although there are Russian citizens who came there to travel and teach the Putin's program in schools. So for now, they're not designated as for military exchange, but they are to go through civil court proceedings. So do you think they'll be used for exchange? We'll see what Russian command thinks. Russian command doesn't think. They don't give a flying F about teachers or soldiers. Well, they do exchange them once in a while, but, perhaps when we take something like Lugansk and Donetsk, they will become a little more modest, and they'll probably remember about the usual ways of fighting wars, and will try to be more polite, and will stop demonstrating all the hate and perhaps diminish the amount of murder towards the civil population in the areas. And you know that in the areas that we liberate, we already found quite a few situations similar to Bucha, where people are being murdered. And oh yeah, retreating troops already posted statements that Ukrainians are following them and dumping bodies everywhere to then accuse Russian side of murdering more people. So again, speaking of collaborants, these teachers or anybody who decides to come from Russia and teach Putin's program at our schools, they are treated as people aiding the enemy. And also I need to address our teachers, those or just people who want to help or who helped who helped occupants during these times. I would suggest you go back to Russia or change your situation and just pack and go to Russia, because here you are criminals. Russia is not here. Russia is not going to be here at no time. So all collaborants think thrice before accepting any Russian passport. And helping the occupants, don't even think about that. Because you either will become bums in some borderline regions of Russia, there are already a lot of those, or you might become a fertilizer somewhere in the fields of Ukraine. As a democratic European country, we will not be playing again in understanding, integration and all that with collaborants and those who help the offenders. These days it will be much simpler. If you've taken Russian passport, you got issues. Besides maybe some situations where the pensioners and they needed to survive to get some money or something to feed themselves. So that will be a separate case. But those who took the passport and who actively participated in reestablishing Russian control of the occupied territories, you know what happened with collaborants in France? A lot of them were hanging after the Second World War. We will not do that, but you know, it'll still be difficult for some of those collaborants to survive to the court date, judging by the reaction and actions of partisans here and there. So I would suggest think real deep and real fast about taking active positions to support Russians. Those who are participating in defacing and taking off Ukrainian symbols from schools, from city administrations. There are some pretty hefty terms for defacing and destruction of the government symbols, especially in times of war. So, yeah, they should think about that. And those who haven't thought about it, or perhaps maybe contemplating, I would suggest do not review the situation in depth. I also have to note we have over 500,000 live viewers, 537,000, that's our new record. About a quarter of you clicked the like button. Please share links to that stream in your social media with your friends. Subscribe to Feigin Live, to Olexiy Arestovych, and to the Privateer Station. We post all the links in the description. All right. We kind of touched about that. There is different information coming about that Saldov, the collaborant. First, there was data that he died, then Russian news are saying that Strymos, one of his colleagues, commenting that he is not, and he is still alive. Well, regardless, Mark, it reminds me of some movies where they were playing one is dead, one is not dead. Regardless of that, Ukraine is not going to accept and try to make peace with collaborants. It will be just like in Europe. If you collaborated with the occupation regime, you are going to jail. There'll be a court and you'll get a hefty term. There are no more jokes. You need to get used to the thought about being defeated. I know it's a big shock for many of Russian citizens who believed that Putin is their leader and that Russian army is undefeatable. But I think the whole world sees now that this is a defeatable army. This is not an army, in fact. This is more like a toilet paper. The moment our artillery starts working on them in the right manner, it just falls apart. So I'd suggest you all pack your bags and think of the fastest route to leave the occupied territories, because nobody will be playing with you, toying with you anymore. Neither those whom you kicked out of their apartments and houses to live in them, nor the ones who will come to liberate these areas with arms in their hands. So, during the whole history of civilized and humane Europe, the destiny of collaborants was always a rough one. Remember that clip where the lady was leaving Crimea after the hits in Saki Air Base? And she was complaining it was so cozy here and now it's so uncomfortable to go back to Russia. This is a hint. Take it as a very big hint. And the possibility of Russian defeat in this war is definitely not a remote perspective. You know how most of them thought that Russia will win for sure, then they changed their mind thinking Russia will eventually win, and now they're facing that Russia may not win. And it will not. And it's just dawns on them that they'll need to adjust their lives to that. And after the second or third operations, like happened in the Kharkov region, it'll be a bit too late to run. So there are only two ways to do it now: either run now or perhaps face much harder repercussions later. So the member of fake administration of Zaporozhye, of occupied Zaporozhye, stated that Ukraine is bringing more military to the border, to the front. Yeah, that guy who's making a statement is likely not going to end up in court. I guess he's nervous. So yeah, there are some screams now that Ukrainians will be liberating Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, and this is risky, and even that International Nuclear Commission is now making some tweets about that direction being a risky one for the war fighting. So do you think Zaporozhye area is a dangerous one, and it can become the possible area of attack? Well, who knows, Mark? We will make it somewhere. Our task is to liberate the whole territory, right? So, sooner or later there will be another attack, another offensive. The front is long, 1,400 miles, so we can pick the area at our leisure. If not today, then tomorrow. We are switching to being more active. Of course, it's difficult to keep doing it all the time, but we can accumulate resources and we can post them in the right place. And this is going to happen sooner or later, and I would venture to say much sooner than some think. So, one last moment. We are doing a stream tomorrow, right? Yes, tomorrow is good. The head of Chechnya, Kadyrov, said that he is preparing additional detachments from his detachment Akhmat, from Grozny, headed by Adam Zelimkhanov, to the Ukraine front. So a question, are they sending them as blocking troops to prevent retreat of Russian army? Yeah, for the most part they're using them for that purpose and also for filtration camps. So basically to torture local citizens looking for possible aids to Ukraine army. So they are on the right side of Dnieper. And it's a big question if these guys will be able to cross Kherson and flee back. So that's a curious one. Alright, we've been live for about 40 minutes. We made a new record. 552,000 live viewers right now. Over 170,000 of you clicked the like button. All right, let's not bring more things now. We'll be waiting for you tomorrow. I do want to say thank you for our viewers. Thank you for our trust. In any country I visit, in any area I visit, there are people coming out, recognizing, quoting some stuff from our stream. And I do appreciate you being here. The more of you are, the better it is. Information war is important. One has to be very naive, and this war showed again that people do not know everything, that it does take a good effort to help break the fears and concerns. And if you want to understand what is happening, how it is unfolding, what does it look like strategically, come here, bring your friends here, and we'll tell you what is going on. Will Ukraine do an offensive in one area or the other? What is happening up top? What is happening down at the front? You know, Feygin streams are a sign of quality. Oh yeah, for sure. And the more of you, the more people know. Russia and the conversations with their relatives and friends show that they live in their own fake world. Many of them don't even realize that they already suffered a big defeat. And there is a direct connection here. The more of them know about that, the more of them are up to date on the news, the more of their kids will survive. The more of them will not be coming to the front. And some of them are, it's just pathetic to look at them. It's sad. Many of them, the 18-year-olds, when we capture those that manage to surrender, it's just sad. We try to not use too much force so they can surrender, but it is a sad situation when they're sending 18-year-olds to die in this useless and stupid war that was started by one crazy man. Putin's regime has no positive goals in this war. They're just pulling time and hoping that we and Europe will freeze in winter. We will not freeze, we'll just become angrier, and we'll be destroying them with more effectiveness. So that's all the perspective they face. This war is lost by the Kremlin regime. We are winning it. And the amount of blood that will be shed, it depends in direct proportion with your knowledge. So come here and we'll tell you, we'll share you the reality. Watch us more often and please share it with your relatives and friends. Thank you, dear friends, and we'll see you tomorrow, 10 p.m. More news to come. Thank you. See you, Olexiy. See you, Mark. See you, everybody.